It's interesting. I always think sometimes teams that fall short are prone to overreacting to the team that knocked them out. So right now, a big thought this offseason is going to be Warriors got to get bigger. They got to get bigger. They weren't big last year. So
they were bigger. They had Otto Porter and Bjelica.
Yeah, Bjelica didn't play a big role, and let's not act like he played big either. Like, he was a guy who sat out on the three-point line. Yes, Otto Porter was a nice fit for the Warriors last year.
Big rebounder, 45% three-point shooter, veteran.
Sure. But not like he's a 7-footer presence in there. If we had Otto Porter on the team, are you looking like, well, now Anthony Davis is not a problem? Now Anthony Davis still be a problem. So I wonder. We'll see how this one ends up, but do you want to tailor your team to be able to handle the Lakers? Is that really what you want to do going forward? Or do you want to wait and see how the season plays out? Maybe Denver is the team to beat. Or do you fight fire with rain? You know, I mean, do you get more athletic, which I think is something that the Warriors could really benefit from? Have more players a la Andrew Wiggins who can not necessarily be a big guy, but take the ball inside and handle that contact like you're talking about and be more of a free throw line team, because they got doubled up at the line by the Lakers.
Lakers in the four losses that the Warriors had in this series, the Lakers were plus 79
That's so
at the
bananas.
free throw line. 79 more free throw attempts than the Warriors in the 4 losses. So that the one thing I think Golden State's got to do is, they love their pace and space, right? They love to get up and down, and they space the floor. To me, one of the things that you got to have if you're really going to space the floor is you have to have a lob threat. You have Draymond Green, who's as good as there is as throwing the lob. Get a lob threat. Where's your JaVale McGee? James Wiseman was supposed to be that lob threat. I was hoping that even after Wiseman was moved, that maybe Kuminga would be that lob threat. You have to, against a team that has a lob threat and as many good 3-point shooters as the Warriors do. That's a ton of space that you have to cover. But if you don't have to honor the lob threat, then you can do what teams did to the Warriors in these playoffs, which is extend the defense out to 27 feet and make them run pick and rolls. They're basically at, the equivalent of the SFO long distance parking away from the terminal. You know what I mean? That's how far out they were doing their pick and rolls. And to me, that's having a lob threat and then having 3-point shooters. That's fine. But it also puts an impetus on the importance of the guys who do put it on the deck and go to the line and get inside the lane, points in the paint, and free throws, and getting the easy buckets and having some balance. DiVincenzo and Poole were their drivers, and DiVincenzo, neither of them got to the rim with any regularity in the playoffs. Poole just stopped driving altogether. So they got to find somebody else.
Wiggins is too, for sure. Yeah, Wiggins is too. But there's no doubt you could use more of that. It's funny. I feel like, and life is always so cyclical. Remember when the Warriors, the last time that they had their big three available and they lost in the playoffs, got to go all the way back to either, obviously, the Toronto series or the Cleveland series, the 2 times they lost in the NBA Finals. So go back to when they blow the 3-1 lead against Cleveland. And what does everybody come out of that series with? Like, man, gosh, they're too reliant on shooting. And so what they need is somebody who, when the shot clock wears down, you need somebody who you can just give the ball and they can create their own shot and get a better look. Oh, how about Kevin Durant? And I feel like this group sort of feels the same way. I'm not saying go get Kevin Durant. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is we're right back to the same spot, which is you played a team that consistently got higher percentage looks because, A, they're bigger, and B, they have at least 2 people, maybe even D'Angelo Russell at times to a degree where you're like, here, take the ball, and in a one-on-one scenario, you can get yourself a high percentage look. The Warriors don't have a whole lot of that. It's Wiggins when he's activated and healthy. It's Steph, although it was neutralized at times in this series because of the size down low. They need more of that. I mean, we've been saying this name for a year and a half. Anunoby from Toronto would be unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I'd have to do all the salary stuff, and I haven't, but Poole and Kuminga, if you could turn both of them into Anunoby, I would do that right now. He is perfect for this team.
Yeah, no, I like him too. My whole thing too is that my biggest fear going into Game 6, and you and I didn't talk before Game 6, but I was saying this on my YouTube show. I can't stand watching Klay Thompson hit the front rim repeatedly when it was so obvious that he was rushing threes, taking deep threes, and to me, it was like I realized he had an awesome year, bounce back year, 300 plus 3-pointers made, led the league. He had 2 games with 12 made threes, the most of all time. I understand he's known for his 3-point shot, but how many times can you hit the front rim before you decide to settle in the mid range? I mean, Kevin Durant could shoot threes, but Kevin Durant, when he absolutely had to have a bucket in so many of those years, he would settle for the high percentage too and rise above you and knock it down. And I just think that I wanted to see a few more high percentage shoulders squared twos from Klay Thompson. Instead, I kind of felt like he was hunting Game 6 Klay ghosts, and he shot them out of it in Game 6.
I think it's hard for players to stop doing what they do. And I know that's the Warriors are sitting here going, look, you got to live and die with what Steph and Klay do. And if they do poorly in a specific series, you're going to lose, and you can live with that. I think we got to wait and get more evidence next year on the offensive end with regard to whether Klay is actually in steep decline or not. I know we all think that because our last image was horrible, but he wasn't. He didn't have a horrible year.
No, he had a good year.
He had two months ago. He like player of the month. So,
but he looked fatigued in the playoffs.
Maybe.
And how many times did he hit the front rim? In the last
few times he didn't hit the rim at all.
He missed the rim altogether. But I mean, you're talking about.
I've never seen him shoot like that. I've never seen Klay Thompson have a shooting game like that. That was the worst shooting game I've ever seen him have. When you factor in the openness of the looks and how poorly he was missing them, for my money, that was the worst I've ever seen Klay Thompson play in my life.
I know. And it made me sit there and go, well, wait a second. When has Klay looked good at times? Well, he's still very, to me, him in the mid-range that's a very high percentage look. That's a very high percentage look. I would have been happier if he had taken a few less heat check threes and a few more shoulder squared mid-range Sean Livingston type, jumpers. Those I thought were invaluable. Livingston was an invaluable guy when you had to have a bucket, and I thought Klay could have filled that role, but he just seemed like he was trying to dial it back to yesteryear Klay, and it wasn't there.
I don't know.
But he was forcing it.
Yeah, I don't know if he can drive and pull up on people the way Livingston used to in the mid-range, but I'm glad
Can he back anybody on the block and do it?
Sometimes. He likes to do that in the corner. He likes that fadeaway in the corner for sure. But I'm glad you bring up Livingston because he's a great example of exactly what I'm talking about when I say that the Warriors, you may think they're old. They're about to get older. Sean Livingston is a perfect example of the kind of player the Warriors want and need coming off the bench.
It's the kind of player they had.
Exactly. He's experienced. He is smart. He made good decisions on the floor. He was a calming force. Think of that phrase.
When you had to have two, he could give you two.
Calming force. What's Jordan Poole? The opposite of a calming force, okay? When you bring guys off the bench who are 20 and 21 and 22 and 23, and you put the other thing that's good about Moses Moody is he doesn't have to make a whole lot of decisions. He's an athletic guy, but it's like, dude, you're in the corner, there's the shot, shoot it. But Jordan Poole has got the ball at half court, and he's got to set the whole thing up and decide, are we going? Are we staying? Am I distributing? Am I shooting? And I don't think he's there yet as far as doing a good job of making those decisions. I look around the playoffs, and I'm looking for guys who have not turned 25 yet, who are given that kind of responsibility and doing it well. And it doesn't happen. R.J. Barrett flamed out for the Knicks. Maxey was actually really good for the Sixers, but they're out. Look at the teams who are still playing. They're centerpieces. They've either been there before, or you're talking about centerpieces who have at least had deep runs. Tatum and Brown were just there last year. Jimmy Butler, LeBron, AD, Jokic. Like, what have these people not seen? And the people even around them are not 20. That's why I think there's just too much discussion about Jonathan Kuminga. I don't see it.
Look at Cleveland. They've got a great young core. Are they still alive?
Look what happened.
They're at home.
They tanked at home in round one.
So, I mean, it's...
Youth doesn't play in the playoffs.
There always used to be this gradual, you make it to the semis, then you make it to the conference finals, and there was that kind of gradual thing. Now, the Warriors were able to accelerate that, but it's still, you don't get it done. You don't get a guy in the lottery and suddenly, that guy's in the finals. It just rarely, if ever, happens. There's a process. It takes a while. I agree. They're going to have to find a way to get a little bit more mature, veteran-type players, but without getting older players. They have to be guys in their prime. They got to replace some of their babies with some of their guys in their prime, or this idea that they're going to win more titles with this group is probably just fool's gold, right? I mean, they're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be able to tell Baldwin and these young guys, hey, you know what? Next year, I want you to play like you're 27. You can't do that. It just doesn't work that way.
By the way, I'm looking at Toronto Raptors salaries. Anunoby only makes 18.6 next year. So they would need to have added salary to even do a swap for Jordan Poole with the salary that he's about to make. You know who's on Toronto who has a player option who I bet the Raptors are not happy with?
Who's that?
Otto Porter.
Who didn't play very much this year.
Play barely at all.
Yeah.
He has a $6.3 million player option for next year, and I bet he's going to take it, and I bet the Raptors would love to get him off the roster.
Yeah, I'd take him back. I'd absolutely take him back. He can rebound. He can shoot the three. I mean, seriously, you got to have guys who rebound. You got to have guys who can play minutes, meaningful minutes, and know how to play.
And he's still only 29, by the way. Still even turned 30 years
he came
old.
out of Georgetown. He was a baby.
Yeah. Peter in Philly. You're on with Willard and Larry Krueger, who's in for Dibs. Hey, Peter, what are you doing?
I'm driving. I'm trying to talk while I'm driving. Anyway, I'm going to say a couple kind words about Poole. Last year, there was a guy named Jordan Poole that could play. And then something happened in the locker room, and suddenly he's lost his confidence. He's trying to be, five guys. And what Larry just said about Klay, same thing should apply to Jordan. Jordan can hit a 15-foot mid-range shot all day long, and they should tell him to take it. Somebody needs to pull him aside, and maybe GP2 can tell him how to play defense. But I think his confidence got shaken when he got punched in the locker room, and I think he's still the guy that played last year. He just he got shaken up. So maybe somebody can pull him under their wing and tell him, look, take a mid-range shot. If he's the best foul shooter in the league, he can certainly shoot a mid-range shot. And I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, Peter, I think it's a good take. Here's my issue with this whole situation. Because Gilbert Arenas said something like this recently on a podcast. He was like, Jordan Poole's problem is that he won't take what's there. He won't just when the three-pointer's there, dude, just shoot it.
You don't get 5 extra points for degree of difficulty.
Seriously, stop flying. I mean, the one that crystallized it for me, some of you will remember this, and I can't remember if it was game 2, game 3. I'm trying to remember. I think it was game 3, the game in L.A. It was game 3 where the Warriors got raced out of the building, game 3 in L.A. Jordan Poole at one point in the second half, I think third quarter, the ball gets rotated and he gets it in the corner. And he's by himself. He's absolutely by himself. But he doesn't shoot the three. He sees a lane to the basket. He says, I'm going to go get 2. Here's the problem. The one person who had access to get to the hoop in time to meet him was somebody by the name of LeBron James. Jordan Poole takes 2 dribbles, 2 big steps, and skies for the hoop. LeBron James took the ball out of his hands before he had even taken flight. It was so candy from a baby moment. And it's like, Jordan, what are you doing? Why are you taking the ball at LeBron James at your size when you have a wide open corner three? And so here's my issue with Poole. Peter, one of them, says, why don't you just pull him aside and explain to him about the mid-range game? Do we all think that they haven't done that? We are seemingly under the impression that it hasn't occurred to the Warriors that they should say something to Jordan. We're under the impression that Draymond Green walks off the court in the middle of games. Steph Curry hucks mouthpieces across the floor. Klay Thompson throws his hands up in the air in disgust, all because Jordan won't do what they haven't even told him to do. My problem with Jordan Poole is he feels very much like someone who is told what to do and won't do it. That's what he looks like to me. He looks like a teenager. Clean your room. No.
No, you know what it is?
Brush your teeth. No. Take a shower. No. He won't do it. And that's why they're exasperated.
Everybody needs to do what they're good at doing. Right?
Yep.
Okay. You don't say Kevon Looney, shoot threes, but do you need threes shot? Yes. But you don't want them shot by Kevon. Why? Because he's not good at it. Jordan Poole took 28 threes in the Lakers series. 28 threes.
How many went in? What do we get?
He made, in the series, 7. He was 7 of 28.
I watch football. That's 25%.
Guess what he shot? Guess how many free throws a guy who's shooting 94% from the foul line?
Well, no, that's last year's stats. Or is that the playoff stats?
Well, no, he
was about 88 this year. But anyway.
He's basically a 90% foul shooter. He's one of
the
NBA's.
He led the league last year. Yeah. He was worse this year. I don't know why.
He's one of the best free throw shooters in all of the NBA. He shot 4 free throws in 6 games.
No way.
4.
Is that true?
4 free throws.
Good Lord.
Game 6, shot 1, none in Game 5, none in Game 4, 2 in Game 3, none in Game 2, 1 in Game 1. He shot 4 free throws, and he's a 90% foul shooter, and he took 28 threes, and he ain't Steph Curry, and he thinks he's Steph Curry. And some of those 28 were deep Steph Curry heat check type threes. Yep. So Jordan Poole stopped doing what he's good at and started doing what he's not good at. And if all you can do is if Jordan Poole's telling us through his play that this is how he wants to play, then he's got to be elsewhere, because he needs to be driving the lane and going to the line. In a 6-game series, I would say he's got to shoot at least 20 free throws. Well, at least.
For me, what you're saying right now is
he shot 4.
This is the issue. But it's not just, hey, drive and get free throws. The issue is when the Warriors continually tell you, and it was a parade to the microphone, we're not a championship team. We maxed out. We're not a champion. We're champions, but we're not a championship team. The parade of saying that, to me, that's who they're talking about. And I don't just mean Jordan. I mean the whole scene of the young group. If you're not a championship team, my question would be why? And my guess as to the answer would be we have too many players who we've tried to show the championship way who haven't picked it up. That's why James Wiseman plays for the Pistons. That's why Jordan Poole keeps making everybody so upset. That's why Jonathan Kuminga is sulking on the bench during the playoffs, because they haven't picked it up. And for me, I think this is where you and I have a mild different way of looking at it, which is I hear all year long, why haven't you developed them? I say they haven't developed. There's 2 different things. I think the Warriors have done plenty in terms of effort in trying to develop these young players. And they haven't. They haven't developed. The light bulb has not gone on. They don't get it. And that's why they need new players.
Okay, but, I mean, to me, the Lamb minutes that you could have given to Moody, and watching the way Moody surfaced in April and May, makes me say that those minutes that you gave to Lamb instead of Moody were wasted minutes.
Maybe.
And you did have a lot of coaches on your staff that were there for development, and yet who would you say developed?
Let me ask you this. I'm going to answer your question with a question. Would Casey Schmidt have gone 8 for his first 11 if he had come up on opening day?
I believe he would have.
Maybe. And this is why it's tough. I will never know. There's no way to know. What I do know, though, is that seasoning is there in sports for a reason. So I can't say that Moses Moody would have looked like this if you'd played him in January. I don't know what was going on then. They felt no. And maybe he played well in the playoffs because he sat. That's an equally big possibility.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just giving the coaching staff too free of a pass. That's too free of a pass.
It's not a free pass.
It really is, because you're basically saying that it's all on the player, and it has nothing to do with the minutes that the coaching staff doles out to the player. It's all about the players getting exactly the number of minutes that the player deserves at all times. The coaching staff never makes a mistake.
No, of course they make a mistake, but my point would be this, I guess. If we've watched Warrior basketball for 10 years, and here comes guys who've only been here for 2 years, and they haven't achieved anything in the NBA, and something's not going right, what do I think is more likely to be the problem? The system that's been working for 10 years, or the new guys not picking it up? I can't definitively answer the question, but yes, I'm going to lean in the direction that the Warriors system works, and some players get it. Sean Livingston, some players don't. Jonathan Kuminga.
Okay,
James
but
Wiseman.
I think where I would be critical of Kerr and the coaching staff, and I think the world of Steve, and I think he's as good a coach as there is in the league, and maybe as good a coach as the league's ever seen. I think that highly of Kerr. So, but I just, to me, it's like, is he the reason that these players didn't play? I mean, yeah, they show you what they've got, but then also you have to give them opportunities. Did you put them in the best positions to succeed? I don't know. I don't know that they did. I get this feeling that Moses Moody probably could have played more effectively if he had been given more minutes earlier in the year. And the fact of the matter is he didn't get those minutes. And so how much of that was on him? How much of that was on them? It's difficult to say.
Something was wrong at the beginning of the year. Because remember how good he was in the playoffs last year. We came into this season going, Moody's going to, right? Like, bye-bye Damian Lee. That's going to be Moody now. Moody's going to have a role. And then he looked like his confidence was shot. So I'm not doing free pass. I'm not saying definitively. I'm just saying that when somebody finally starts playing well, maybe it's because they didn't have opportunity. Maybe it's because they had a chance to sit down and watch, and a light bulb went on, as opposed to, hey, it would have looked like that the whole time if you had played him. They did play him at the beginning of the year, and it didn't look the same.
No.
So...
And you mentioned Damian Lee. I know we got to run, but Damian Lee, I thought, was a guy that I don't understand why they didn't bring Damian Lee back. I thought his value, what it cost, and his value to the team, I thought he should have been on this team this year.
He was bad in the playoffs last year. He was why Moody came in.
No, I know.